Ladies and gentlemen, let's GreenManGaming video. It is, of course, the Steam sale. And we have some shyness. Not a bad day today, not a brilliant day, but that seems to be pretty much the modus operandi of the entire Steam sale. We have a couple of pretty nice reductions, but nothing astounding. Anyway, let's begin, shall we? Guess we might as well start with Dead Rising 3, since it's at the top left. This is the Apocalypse edition. It's 24 Great British Pounds, or if you're paying US dollars, it's going to cost you $29.99, which isn't a bad price, I guess. It's not bad at all. So, Dead Rising 3, of course, was first released on the original, well, on the Xbox One, and then was ported eventually to the PC. The PC version's not too bad. There are a couple of issues with the frame rate and so forth that can be resolved. We've tackled those in videos previously, and as the game itself, it's pretty fun. The price reduction means it's actually not a bad deal. I quite like the game myself. If you're interested in just some mindless fun and violence, then you could certainly do considerably worse. Now, we're going to be discussing Shovel Knight, which is available for, what is it available for? $7.36 if you're paying in Great British Pounds, or $10.04. A fairly exact number, if I ever said so myself. So, what is Shovel Knight? To give you the elevator pitch, so to speak, this is very much in the retro/8-bit style. It is a precision platformer in many ways. It's perfect platforming. It's got good music. If you are basically a retro gamer or you really like the retro style, this is going to be one of those games for you. It plays really well. It has good graphics, considering at the end of the day it's 8-bit. I was going to say, of course, the other benefit of that is it doesn't really require a high-end system. So, what I'd say to you is, for the price, it's not bad at all. You can also get the soundtrack version. The soundtrack for this game is pretty good. If you're a fan of platforming /8-bit /16-bit era, then go ahead and pick it up. It's probably slightly better with the controller. You're going to enjoy it more if you've got a controller. It's not bad on keyboard, but it's not bad. Not bad to control, but it's better with controller, if that made sense. Hopefully that sentence made sense. Anyway, Amata has also played this and she quite liked it as well, and user reviews are also pretty good, so no real problems with it. Fallout New Vegas. This is going to cost you £2.49, or it's going to cost you $2.49. So either Americans get a really good deal, or us Brits get screwed. Whichever way, it's the same price. You can also pick up the Ultimate Edition of this, which is basically going to cost you like £5.09, which is once again a really exact number, that's 66% off. How would I describe Fallout New Vegas? Well, I'm sure many of you probably are aware of the basic premise of it. It is, of course, set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and I guess the tagline you could say is this is Skyrim / Elder Scrolls set in a post-apocalyptic future. It has a kind of its own humour, its own brand of humour, and of course, this game in particular is pretty synonymous with the fact you can actually set off a nuclear weapon. That's not really a spoiler. It's probably one of the biggest spoilers of the game. Well, not spoilers, but one of the biggest story points of the game that a lot of people spoke about. Now, there are a couple of points I want to make about this game. The first point I'd like to discuss is the fact that it does have some bugs. They are somewhat correctable if you use the console. Now, personally, I've had bugs a couple of hours in, and basically there was a dude that wouldn't spawn. I don't remember his name, and I needed him to spawn so that I could basically do a quest, and it was a storyline quest. In other words, I couldn't proceed the storyline without doing this, and I googled around, and a few other people had the same issue, and the only way I found around it, after googling and googling and googling, the only thing I managed to do was put in a console command. And supposedly, from what I'm hearing, that actually affected the console versions as well. The difference is with the console versions, I don't know how true this is because I've never played the console versions. Supposedly with the console versions, the only thing you could do is basically restart. But I digress. This game does have some bugs. But if you can get around those, the storyline's really good. However, because it's got a really open nature, personally, I couldn't get into this as much as I could Skyrim. Now, I would admit that I'm probably in the minority, but there you have it. So it's a good price. Basically what I'm saying is for the price you can't really go wrong. Give it a shot. Moving on, rather swiftly, Crusader Kings 2. This is another title that seems to be pretty much consistently on the sale page at the moment. It's going to cost you $10 US. I'm just going to round it up because who cares about 1 penny, right? Or $7.49, which is bad. So this one is once again a strategy title, and of course the creators of this game, Paradox, are very well known with strategy. In other words, pretty much anything they generally touch is considered to be gold. You could also pick up a Crusader Kings 2 collection, which is $30, which has, say, £30, which contains a ridiculous amount of content. Or you could pick up the Paradox Grand Strategy Collection, which is going to cost you 75 Great British Pounds. It doesn't appear to have any money off, but that will basically give you Crusader Kings 2, Europa Universals, Heart of Iron, and so on and so on. There's no real problems with this one. There is a demo available. What I'd recommend with all strategy games, personally speaking, this isn't my type of strategy game. I just can't get into it. There's a demo available. Go ahead and check it out. There's no real problems as I've heard anyway. Next one. This is going to cost you $6.79, or if you're paying in US dollars, you're going to be paying, well, not a bad price, I suppose. It's going to cost you, he says as it opens the wrong tab twice in a row, $10.19. And that would be Dawn of War Retribution. So this title is basically part of the Warhammer universe. So right away, if you're a fan of the Warhammer universe, specifically the 40,000 series, then you're going to be quite at home. This is a pretty good strategy game. There's no real issues with it. The bottom line is, if you're a fan of Warhammer, you're going to get definitely more out of it. Now, obviously, Warhammer as itself, in terms of the Dawn of War franchise, is pretty massive. There's a hell of a lot. And as far as I'm aware, the plot lines do cross over quite a bit. I've played a couple of them. One of my friends is actually a huge Dawn of War fan. He's completed, I think, all of them at least 2 or 3 times, all the strategy games. And so it's a pretty solid. You can also pick up the Masters Collection, which is probably, if you're trying to get into the franchise, the way you want to go. You could also pick up the Grandmasters Collection, which is going to cost you like £27, and that includes a ridiculous amount of extra content, but it's also a lot of extra money from like the $6 you were originally going to pay. If you're just looking for the main meaty storyline, $13.59 is not bad. Anyway, moving on. Where are we? Actually, there seems to be a bit of an oddity with today's Steam sale. Now, I don't know if this is going to be corrected later, and it could well be, but there is definitely a bit of an oddity. I'm just going to refresh the page just to make sure that I'm not seeing, things going a bit weird. It doesn't appear so. Nope, it's definitely seeming to be there. So what's basically happening at the moment, as you can probably see from the screenshots that was at the start of the video, Fallout New Vegas is being listed twice. And you've got on the UK storefront Tropico 5, and on the US storefront Dawn of War Retribution. Now, what I'm assuming is going to happen is later on one of these versions of Fallout is going to be removed, and you're going to get basically both games available in each region. I'm just assuming that's the problem. So I'm gonna proceed with the notion that that's what's wrong. So we're just going to continue forward, basically. And I guess we're going to start out with, where were we? Tropico 5, which is currently available. I have no idea what the dollar price is for this one, because it's not working properly, to be totally honest, at the moment as I'm recording this. But it's 65% off, $12.24. There's a lot of these building simulation type of games, and honestly, Tropico 5 doesn't particularly... The basic premise is that you are, well, how can I put this? I suppose the tagline would be that Tropico 5 allows you to actually manage a country. So this allows you to set everything from basically the historical foundations all the way through until the present. So in theory, this gives you a lot of control, and you can even write the full constitution, which is kind of cool. But I've heard mixed things about the game, so you might want to do a bit of Googling, because what I found is that for most people, they basically just call it kind of lazy. In other words, there's not enough buildings, there's not a high enough population cap, supposedly it's only like 2,000 people, and so on and so forth. So in other words, many are considering the Tropico 4, which of course is its predecessor, better. So if you're interested in the game, maybe pick up Tropico 4 instead. I haven't personally played it, and I'm basically reading a couple of opinions of people on the internet. And also, I believe one of my friends has played this and kind of didn't get into it. If memory serves, he didn't complete it, but I don't remember if it's Tropico 4 or 5. So I don't want to give that as a fact. I guess we've only got a couple of games remaining, haven't we? Watch Dogs is available for basically 20 Great British pounds, but you can actually pick this up from multiple different places for cheaper. Not limited to... You can get it from Amazon, the actual physical box version. We're talking for the PC here for like £17, and there are a couple of other deals going about as well. So I'd personally recommend. Watch Dogs is a good game. Definitely visually mod it. Either way, there's no problems despite Ubisoft saying so. There's no issues that I've run into. So don't pay this price. You can get it cheaper. Is basically what I'm saying. So it's not a bad price if you really want to get it through Steam, if you really do. But doing a bit of Googling, you can definitely get this game for cheaper, and Amazon are doing a physical boxed version. And yeah, you don't really, it's not a big deal. If you want to play the game here and then, I suppose digital's better, but Amazon are going to get it to you quite quickly anyway. The Long Dark is also available for $7.49. That would be Great British pounds. If you're paying in United States dollars, it's going to cost you $10. So this one is an early access title. So obviously, the normal caveats of the fact that you might not have a completely smooth experience and so on. With that said, I don't know many people who had particularly major issues. This is a survival horror game. I suppose survival is probably the biggest way of putting it through it. So you can be everything from eaten alive by wolves to surviving several days in a row. And the real premise here is that if you've ever watched an episode of Survivor Man, and we won't talk about Man vs. Wild because that's about as realistic as me surviving like a fall from space without a chute. The real thing here is that you've got everything from looking from tinder to, in other words, fire making materials, to looking for food and water and all of the other bits and bobs. So there is an element of luck in this one. There's also an element of basically common sense. So if you've ever wanted to try your hand in this, go ahead and pick it up. I guess at the very least it's going to give you some ideas of survival. It's supposedly not many bugs that I know of, and the reviews are all positive as well. So I don't really have a problem with recommending that title. For the price, it's also pretty good as well. Next one would be Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut. This is going to cost you $4.39 if you're paying in Great British pounds, or basically $6 if you're paying in, well, dollars. This same studio also bought us the Shadowrun Returns, which is also available on Steam at a rather nice discount as well. This is once again another title that scores pretty well. Not personally played it, but don't really have anything bad to say about it. Looking at some Googling, kind of looking around, most people seem quite happy with the game. You can maybe give it a shot. If this is your type of genre, then maybe give it a shot. This has got level editor, which is quite nice. It's not, it's not the best deal ever, but it looks kind of cool. We're going to be rounding ourselves up with the new deals, which are every 12 hours, blasting through these. I don't know all of them. I'm going to go through a couple of games. Mortal Kombat Complete, we've talked about this one several billion times before. No real issue recommending this one. Even if you're only playing for single player, there's quite a bit of content there for $3.74. I actually quite like the engine, despite the fact it's a little janky compared to, say, Street Fighter. It feels a bit clunky at times, but I actually really like it. And hey, the new Mortal Kombat is looking quite sexy. And then Wake is available as well. That's 90% off for $2.29. I'm just giving the Great British Pound prices here because it's, you know, simpler. But you could also pick up the collection, which I'd highly recommend you do. Or pick up the franchise. The franchise includes American Nightmare as well. And American Nightmare is nowhere near as lengthy as the original Alan Wake, but it's worth it. The basic premise, by the way, is you are a writer, and so it's almost like you're living in a novel. So sometimes you'll pick up like a book and you know, or a page of a manuscript, and then those events will start happening in the game as you progress forward. It's kind of cool. It can be a little bit cheesy. It's kind of Twin Peaksy, with some elements of an X-Files episode maybe, but I quite like it. It feels almost like kind of being in a Stephen King novel at times, and I'm kind of a fan of it. I kind of dig it. Anyway, GreenManGaming have changed their codes, their deals. There is a 20% off thing, or 25% off. It keeps changing depending on the day, to be honest with you, and I believe that does apply for any of the games available. I'm going to go through a couple of the big deals. You've got the Skyrim currently, which is actually, I believe, the Legendary Edition. No, it's just a standard Skyrim. I believe Legendary Edition is available, however, as well. But the standard base Skyrim is just going to cost you £2.49, which is not bad. Once again, these are dollar prices and not including the 20% off. These are pound prices and not including 20% off. Doesn't really, I'm not going to go into Skyrim because everyone knows what Skyrim is. Alien Isolation, 16 Great British Pounds, not a bad price, particularly if you once again count the 20% off. You've also got Bioshock Infinite for £5, once again 20% additional. It's not bad, you know, when you start paying £4 for Bioshock Infinite. Can't really complain, to be totally honest. I believe there are a couple of other really good deals as well. I'm just going to blast through. If you've already got Street Fighter 4 on the PC, you can pick up the Ultimate Street Fighter 4 for $7.49, and once again, not including the code. Very good game. Strider is also like £6, not bad, not brilliant, but not bad. And you've still got all of the holiday deals as well. Not as many as they used to have, but you can still pick up like Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition for like $9.99. Not bad price. Metal Gear Solid Rising, $12.49. You know, some of these prices are okay. They're not going to set the world alight or anything like that. I'm just checking, make sure there's no like incredible deals, but it doesn't look like there's any deals that really kind of set the world alight, to be totally honest with you. Yeah. Alright, and there was one other website that I want to blast through, and that would be Amazon. There are some really good deals on titles like Shadow of Mordor, where you can get for like 18 Great British Pounds. Apparently some of these deals are different from US and UK, so I can only recommend that you do a bit of checking between both. Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, they're doing a very good price at £18. You've got Far Cry, which is about 20 Great British Pounds, that would be Far Cry 4, and so on and so on. So a couple of Ubisoft games and a couple of Warner Brothers games are quite cheap, so you might want to check those out. Unfortunately, most of the really good deals now are kind of getting past us. Origin is still available, but there's nothing astounding. Some of the prices have actually kind of gone up a little bit. You can still get Battlefield 3 for very, very cheap. I believe it's like 74p. And you can actually pick up Battlefield 4 for quite cheap as well. But most of the other really good deals are pretty much over now, to be totally honest. You can pick up a reasonable price for Mass Effect and all of those games, as you would expect. And Crysis is very cheap, Dead Space, but all of those are the same deals we've all had, so it doesn't appear to be anything new, unfortunately. So once again, do give Origin a quick check over as well if you need those last minute savings. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.